It is the best of times. It is the worst of times. Best of times because the northern hemisphere is visibly awakening. Some snowdrops were even appearing weeks ago before the 1 foot and then 2 feet of snow laid winter's blanket back on our area of earth. Now much of the snow is gone. Shady spots and parking lots still have tiny and large glaciers that remain in spite of some lovely warm days. So much of our area of the planet now displays shoots and bits of buds. Ground covers are beginning to show hints of green. Now is also the worst of times for those of us who live without pavement on sidewalks, driveways, and paths. Now is the 5th season. At the time of the winter thaw, some of us experience the season of mud. Squishing to and from our cars and mailboxes, we yearn, or at least dream of the perceived cleanliness of concrete and asphalt, if only for the muddy few weeks. Then a major joy of my life, spring, my favorite season. I am not alone in this joy. The earliest hints of vegetative color change lift our spirits as the other animals join us, or we join the other animals in the excitement of spring awakening. First, we notice a maroon haze through the trees. The tiniest buds appear and increase in size until the maroon casings fall away. In a few locations, we may see the pale yellow-green of weeping willow buds. It seems to me that there are fewer weeping willow trees around than there were in my youth. I wonder if something has diminished their numbers. I guess that those remaining willows drink up that melting snow so that they display that very early, tender young green. The shrubs and bushes join in with their buds above shoots which promise daffodils and tulips among the crocuses and the hardy snowdrops. Then our world is sprinkled with yellows of forsythia and other vegetation blooming in various shades of that color. Then the lavenders. So many different purples, palest to vivid, some in natural wild settings. A carpet of scilla under a grove of trees is a delight. Purples in human-created profusion are everywhere. Each year I enjoy riding by what I guess are azaleas on the high shoulder of Route 4 in North Kingstown going into East Greenwich. This all reminds me of the famous passage in Alice Walker's The Color Purple. Shug says to Celie, "Listen, God loved everything you love and a mess of stuff you don't. But more than anything else, God loved admiration." "You saying God vain?" Celie asked. "No," Shug said, "not vain. Just wanting to share a good thing. I think it pisses God off if you walk by The Color Purple in a field somewhere and don't notice it." "What did it do when it pissed off?" Celie asked. "Oh, it made something else. People think pleasing God is all God care about. But any fool living in the world can see God always trying to please us back." "Yeah? Yeah," Shug said, "always making little surprises and springing them on us when us least expect." "You mean it want to be loved just like the Bible said?" "Yes, Celie," she said, "everything want to be loved. Us sing and dance, make faces and give flower bouquets trying to be loved. You ever notice that trees do everything to get attention? We do, except walk." Trees do everything to get attention, except walk. Trees flash beautiful blossoms. Some offer sweet fruits or wonderful nuts and seeds. In 1973, Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird wrote a book entitled The Secret Life of Plants. Its premise was the idea that plants are sentient and can communicate with each other and with humans. The authors put forth the idea of sensitivity and consciousness of plants. Most scientists responded quite negatively to the ideas presented in the book, calling it full of pseudoscience. In 1979, a documentary film was made based somewhat on the book. It was entitled Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants. The film used time-lapse photography to introduce the viewer into the secret life. The documentary was about the relationship between plants and their environments. Stevie Wonder created the soundtrack for the movie. He used electronic instruments to create rather experimental musical sounds to represent the sounds of plants, the music of plants. It was both panned and praised as being courageous and achingly sweet. Of course, a lot of people talk to their plants. Words to encourage and soothe and praise are often uttered to bring about positive results. Former Prince, now King Charles of Great Britain, famously or infamously was known for talking to his plants. My intention with everything that I plant is to send them into the soil with the blessing, grow damn you. Then I complete the procedure with the acceptance of the knowledge that everything planted either thrives or becomes fertilizer. Over 40 years after the Secret Life of Plants conversations, a pop-up book group here within UUCSC read books about trees. These books were suggested by a member, the late Larry Kelland, who was a retired librarian. The first book, Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard, was a revelation to me. The second book, The Arbornaut by Meg Lohman, took me further into the little-known, to me, world of vegetation and trees in particular. Long ago, tree science used to be a great deal of ring counting and examining of trees after they were cut down. Similar to the school of kill the animal, then study the dead body. Much of the knowledge of trees was learned looking up from the ground. In recent decades, scientists have climbed the trees. An entirely new world was discovered. Meg Lohman calls this world the eighth continent. Science now believes that the number of living beings in tree canopy may be equal to the number of beings beneath the tree canopy. Humans have been unaware of half of life on Earth, and I do not include the vast numbers of living creatures under the seas in these number comparisons. We've always known about the birds in the trees, but there are millions of insects, snails, caterpillars, spiders, and countless other critters who live on every part of tree leaves, branches, and bark. Ecologically balanced worlds exist above us as we walk and read and picnic and sleep beneath trees. There are bugs that harm trees. There are bugs which eat the harmful bugs. There are bugs that secrete substances that help the trees. There are birds that eat many, but not all of the bugs. An ecologically balanced system out of our view and for too long out of our consciousness. Once the leaves and branches and bark fall to the ground, they are still occupied. I like to think of fallen trees as so many condominiums. Everything that falls to the ground is still teeming with life. Insects and animals of all sorts continue to feed and live in and on everything. Squirrels, voles, and rabbits and all manner of critters live on, in, and under downed trees. Worms and insects live and thrive in and on the debris under trees. What is called litter is in fact a fabulous, rich layer which feeds and houses everything and everyone, including more vegetation. And so much of this rich material is raked and bagged and carted off to landfills. Then those folks go to the garden center to buy what they just discarded. Ferns, fungi, and seeds grow not only on the ground, but also on the fallen trunks of trees. These trunks are called nurse logs. Trees of the same variety will grow out of the seemingly dead same type of tree. And some of the critters on the trunks are the very ones who eat and eliminate the rich, loamy new soil. Trees may not walk, but they do spread, and not only by their roots. Roots do grow and spread, seeking nutrients and water. Trees also communicate with each other, particularly within their own family, their own tree families, through tiny, fine strings of fungi, which grow in the soil between trees. And through these channels, trees can and do message each other. When they are compromised by infestation or illness, they send messages to others of their type that there is danger or disease, so that their neighbors, their family of trees, can protect themselves against the spreading danger by altering their immediate ecological environment. So there is a life between plants that has been unknown to humankind. And what about animals? What about the thought to be highest form of animal, humans? We fancy ourselves better than, more intelligent than, able to communicate better than all other animals. In some schools of thought, we are supposed to have dominion over other beings. 'Twould seem we don't know much of what we don't know. We seem to have a bit of trouble communicating with our own kind, let alone all of the other kinds. Remember that school of science, kill it, then study it? Still, a lot of that type of study being practiced. Humans will surge forth with impatience to do things without a lot of research. I think of it as everybody wants to win a prize for being first. And hopefully our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, in their pursuit of Nobel Prizes or other things, will take their time. Whether proven right or wrong, search forth, but not ours. Let's do new math. Let's teach sight reading rather than phonics. I know folks on Medicare who cannot sound out an unfamiliar word. Let's not teach cursive anymore. Who will read your old letters when they're discovered in that great hiding place where you put them? Maybe a bad example, you may not want them to be read. Do humans need to slow down and compete less and cooperate and communicate more? Every one of us probably have at least 3 devices for communicating. Landlines, cell phones, tablets, laptops. And how easy is it to reach anyone? How easy to speak with someone? People 2 or 4 feet apart are each on a device, neither one making eye contact with a human. Even on the devices, we don't make eye contact because the cameras are not where the eyes with which we are trying to connect are located. Each time I look at this Zoom, I don't know what I'm looking at, except myself. I'm not connecting. Sometimes we attempt to connect with a person only to discover they are communicating with someone else through earbuds, plugs, or phone. All of these means of connecting and communicating, and an epidemic of isolation, depression, stress, and fear is overtaking us. Older people struggle to maintain connection. Middle-aged folks are struggling to maintain their sanity while trying to juggle a bit too much progress in their lives. Young people are barely able to connect with anyone human because they've been given devices to entertain them in infancy. And they wanted them because observation has taught them that these devices are important, just trying to learn to be human like the adults observed. In many school systems, various ways of cutting the cord less connection are being tried. In so many cases, the kids are breathing a sigh of relief when that connection is severed. They want to have real and human connections. They like not having that blue screen hypnotizing them. They are learning to talk to each other, looking at other kids in the eye. Could communication with parents be coming next? Maybe not. We all know that the creators of these addicting devices created them to be so. It is very intentional. So much so that these creators of blue light gadgets don't give them to their own children. What do? There are so many things in our lives over which we have no control. The price of gas and heating oil, the cost of medical care and medications, interest rates, so many things that there's no need for me to belabor the point. We do have some control over the devices. We can take advantage of the moments that we do not have them in our hands. We can set them aside for periods of time. We can look up and around and make eye contact with anyone, with everyone. The person with a red hat, say hi. The police officer in the car coming in the opposite direction, give them the peace sign. Use the name on a clerk's chest. Thank you, Sean. Or, how is your name pronounced? Keep devices out of the area where you eat. Now, I do not practice all of these things that I'm preaching, but I'm working on it. We don't have fungi through which to communicate coming danger, but humans have enough intelligence to recognize the danger of isolation, disconnection, and being divided and conquered. We can awaken, spring-like, and like with tiny seeds can broadcast connections. We can take control of how many smiles we plant wherever we go. If we like Johnny Appleseed, plant friendliness wherever we go. Fear and isolation, rather than thriving, will die down and turn into fertilizer from which more connection and communication will grow. May it be so. Ashe. Is